Blast from Our Past Network.
Hello, and welcome back to Why This Film, the podcast where we watch a movie from your childhood and have a chat about it. I'm Emily Slade, and welcome back. You watched it so many times before, and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it, and now you show it to your friends, and they're like, "What?
What am I watching?
What? Why this film?" And I'm joined today by Grace. Hello!
Hello, Emily.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's
Lovely
great.
to have you. And your chosen movie is Annie, 1982. What is your relationship with this movie?
This was a film that me and my sister watched over and over and over again.
Nice.
We both have quite a love of musicals, and that's come from my dad, which you wouldn't really expect, because he's this little geezer who, when we were children, was working as a dustbin man, but he loves musicals. So we had loads that we watched over and over again, but Annie was a particular favourite. It was on a double VHS, so it was Annie first, followed by Oliver.
Nice.
So it was like the orphan bumper edition.
Yeah.
Which...
All children singing.
Yeah, children singing, they have no parents. And also, as children, like, we always preferred to watch films about kids because we could relate better. So
yeah, makes sense.
We just watched Oliver and Annie over and over again, but Annie just has such a special place in my heart.
Nice.
I fell in love with Miss Hannigan.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there will be so much to talk about. But yeah, so me and my sister used to dance around and sing the songs and pretend we were orphans. It was so much fun. So
classic. I love it. Annie's one of those movies that I don't remember the first time I ever watched it, and that's really rare for me. I'm usually really good at my first experience watching this movie. But Annie, I think it was just on when I was being birthed. Do you know what I mean? It's Annie. Of course I've fucking seen Annie. Of course I've seen it countless times as well. I have to say, controversial, but I need to get it out from the word go. I don't like Annie. But what I do like is about 20 minutes of Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And those 20 minutes are some of the greatest 20 minutes ever. And it's Miss Hannigan. It's Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
It's Bernadette Peters, and it's Tim Curry. And every time they're on screen, it is the greatest movie of all time.
Yes.
When we're doing literally anything else, I'm like, ugh. Even as a kid.
Yeah,
they bring it up so much that you have to watch it so you can enjoy the bits with them in it. I don't know. But now saying that, I watched it yesterday and I've marked all of the songs out of 10 because that's the kind of thing I do.
I have heard.
And
you've got a rep.
I have a reputation for doing that. And songs that I'd given very mediocre marks to, I then sang for the rest of the evening because they're just in your head. Even though I'm watching them and I'm like, this is mediocre. And then you go upstairs and you're just singing it constantly.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Ridiculous.
just before we called, my landlady had gone out and I was singing How I Was Almost His Baby, maybe, at the top of my voice, as just soulfully as and I was just, because maybe one of those songs that is just, it's just a lot of reprises, really. And so, but I was just going for it, and it's in your head.
The thing is with Maybe is, it is such a shame that no one knows it, because you think of Annie and you think of Tomorrow. And unfortunately, Tomorrow has been tarnished with this brush of absolute cringy musical theatre at its absolute worst, sort of child shrieking, like, because I was talking to my friend afterwards about it, and she was like, the trouble with the Annie songs as well is when you sing them, you have to sing them in that sort of like kind of voice. But maybe is such an underrated gem of a song. It's so subtle and beautiful and melodically pleasing and sweet and heart-wrenching, but it's always pushed to the side for tomorrow, and it's like, fuck tomorrow, fuck off, like, bring back maybe. Like, it's such a sweet little number, and it's always overshadowed by its like ugly big sister. You know what I mean?
I mean, although something that surprised me about Tomorrow, and it's quite a bit later in the film, so I don't know if it's the right moment to mention it, but when she sings it to the president, and it's the only bit where there's any a cappella singing, and it's
that's a good point.
Actually quite lovely and
it's quite
sweet.
moving, I have to say.
Usually you think of like the Tomorrow, and it's really over the top, but that was actually just a moment where, because this film is full of stuff, and that was a moment where this film is stripped back. You can just see Daddy Warbucks just out of focus in the background, just kind of going, oh wow, this child's amazing. And I completely forgot about that moment in the film, and that surprised me.
Because that's one of the few bits of the film that I always remembered, probably because it was so startlingly lovely as a kid. There was like 3 things that I remember from Annie all the time, and one of them is when she ran, because it's so fucking random as well. It's like, why is she going to see the president? Like, why is J. Edgar Hoover in this movie? Like, what is happening? Like, what? Who is Daddy Warbucks, and why does he know the president?
It's everybody.
So weird. Why is he? Oh, I've got so much to say about Daddy Warbucks. So problematic. But but it's the one. Yeah, you're right. You think of Tomorrow, you think of the girl on her own, sort of shrieking it. But actually, it's quite, because the adults then join in. They save it and they make it really lovely, and it's quite funny as well, and it's cute. So that's always one bit I remember randomly. Yeah, let's go through the songs now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'll give you my mark, and then I'd like a mark from you as well.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. There's only one that I have actually already put a mark in ahead of time, so the rest will have to be on the fly.
I'm very excited. So we open with Maybe. Well, we technically open with like a Tomorrow, but like we'll ignore that. That's like the what's it called?
The Overture.
That's the one. I was like, ensemble? No.
I would like to, like, the credits at the beginning, because I didn't realise till recently that this film was made in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of it as a child. I watched it along other old musicals. I used to love watching Calamity Jane. That was one of my favourites. Calamity. Yeah, another day. But like the way that the credits are done at the beginning with the photos and who's in it sort of thing, it just really already gets you in that kind of mindset of this like 1930s, like old school, or 90, like
Bugsy Malone,
like Fred Astaire sort of musical. And so that's why I had no idea it was made in the 80s, which I should have realised, because one of my acting teachers was down to like the last 3 for Annie.
What?
I had an American acting teacher, and she always talked about how she got so close to being Annie.
Oh my god!
So I really should have clocked that maybe it was a more recent film, because she ain't old. So it's kind of,
miss, you look great for your age.
You made this film so long ago. But yeah, so like obviously Overture with Tomorrow and stuff, but I did love that kind of the way that it gets you in the mood already.
Yeah, it's that sort of credits at the beginning vibe that they don't really do anymore, and you're used to seeing in like those big old MGM musicals type thing.
Absolutely.
So I agree. It's brilliant, and Tomorrow plays over that, and then we come in with Maybe, and she's sat at the window, and it like, oh god, it's just so lovely. It's such a lovely song. 10 out of 10, like straight off the bat, 10 out of 10.
I would, I think. No, I wrote down. This is the point where you actually see Annie like as this her kid who's waiting for her parents, and that is heartbreaking. The reason I'll give it a 9 out of 10 is because it's not like a full song.
Yeah, that's fair.
And maybe that's me being unkind to it, but it is like, it is lovely, and I do love it, and I love how it's used throughout the film, but because it never becomes maybe that's what's good about it, that it's not a full film. Maybe
I love a reprise, and maybe is like all reprise.
Yeah.
It's like it's never. But then I listen, because I love it so much, I seek it out on Spotify, and you can listen to the like sort of full version from a Broadway production. So I'm used to hearing it as like a big old song. So maybe that's why I'm like, it's perfect. But, like, everyone sings it as well. Like Daddy Warbucks gets a chance to sing it. The Orphans get a chance to sing it. Annie sings it. Like, it's just super cute. And like, I thought you were gonna say to leave room for places to go in case something got better than this one. But I found a way to combat that, so don't you worry.
Oh, great!
About
Good.
marking stuff too high.
I've overshot the mark too early.
We then go into Hard Knock Life, and it's a 9 out of 10 because like it's iconic. It's like it's good. It's just good. It's just good.
It's brilliant. I had talking because obviously I'd been watching the credits. I didn't know that Arlene Phillips had choreographed the film.
I literally said the same thing. I was like, "Mum, Arlene Phillips choreographed this," and she was like, "Who?" And I was like, "The woman from Strictly Come Dancing, I think." I don't know. Yeah.
I never knew what she'd done, and now I know.
Yeah,
like,
Annie.
And though, I mean, throughout the dances are incredible. And Hard Knock Life, there are flips, there are cartwheels, backflips. Those girls are rehearsed within an inch of their life, and they're all giving it all the face, all the I got ridiculous hard life, which they have, and just bringing it. And I just like I'm so impressed by the performances they're all giving.
Yeah, it's an explosive opening number. Like the way they like throw cloths of water onto the floor and like push mops around, like it's so aggressive, and like then they'll go into like tap and like ferociously tap on these like hard wooden floors, and you're just like, oh yeah, it is a Hard Knock Life.
It's so nice to, especially like being a little girl, like it's not dainty. It's not dainty in the slightest.
They are fragile.
No, they are. And the fact from like even the first scene, they have a fight in the dormitory. Yeah. Like they've had a hard life and they're living it, and they're bruisers, and I like that. It's really like throws you in there and makes you go, wow, okay, this is a life to deal with.
And like we can be that as well. We can fight, and we can rough and tumble, and we can like stand up for ourselves. Like there's a little orphan for everyone as well. Do you want to be like the tall bully one, or do you want to be the like small cute one? Like, but they're all still. Oh my goodness! It did get to the point. My mum was like, "If that girl says that one more time, I'm going to reach into the screen and throttle her." I was like, "Leave her alone." She's like 7. But yeah, and Hard Knock Knife has been used by like pop stars. It's been rehashed and redone, and like everybody knows it. And everybody knows it's from Annie as well, I think.
I suppose I'm gonna also give it a 9 out of 10. It's up there for me. I really think it's brilliant.
It is.
You're gonna find out I really like this film.
That's fair. I expect nothing less. But this is the thing though, when it's good, it's so good. That's the thing with this movie. That's why I struggle with saying things like I don't like it, because a lot of it I am like, my eyes are rolling into the back of my head, and then within 2 minutes it can save itself by being one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed again. And like it's just it's so I'll get into it, why I have such a weird relationship with this movie, but I'm glad that I'm with someone who like outright loves it, because maybe you'll open my eyes to what I'm missing and appreciate it more.
I hope so.
Because then we get to Dumb Dog, which is a song she sings to the dog that is like not integral to this movie. It
there
just
are
exists.
a lot of moments and lots of scenes throughout this whole film that are not integral to the plot or
And I
anything.
think that's what I have a real problem with. Like, it will just wander off. That like when we're with the president, I'm like, what? Why are we with the president? Like, what is happening? And at the beginning, they make this whole palaver of her finding this dog, and she has to keep him safe from the dog catcher. But then the warden takes her back to the orphanage. But then she gets to keep the dog, and it's the dog, and then the dog does one thing, and then is like never seen again in the entire movie. Like,
I mean, he does turn up quite a bit. Like, he just doesn't become as integral as he was earlier on.
Yeah, I think that's it. He's sort of used up and then just sort of there. And, like, you know, I'm not saying they should have him, like, trying to tear Tim Curry off the bridge at the end or anything to make use of him. But, like, I don't know, something. Just...
He does save Daddy Warbucks from the Bolsheviks.
But that's so early on. He, like, earns his place at the house. And then it's just like, cool, that subplot's done. The dog's just here now. But then, like, that's, like, why is that a problem? Like, it should be fine. But for some reason, I'm so pernickety with this movie that I'm just like, I don't buy it. That dog needs to be used more.
Yeah. I feel like they do use him a lot at the beginning, so I don't have a problem with... And also, at the end, he does show the orphans how to get to the house and stuff.
That's a very good point.
They need. So I feel like, because you can overuse animals.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I like dogs, and I think he's gorgeous and so fluffy, and I want to cuddle him so much.
He's so lovely.
But Dumb Dog is, again, a little bit like the way... that one really is a bit of a nothing song.
I can't even tell you how it goes.
Dumb Dog, why are you following me?
That's it. Could have been spoken, let's be honest. Didn't need to be in tune. Like, it's so short as well, and it doesn't lead into any... It's like... It's literally like they were just like, oh, we've got some dialogue, let's just put a melody to it for a bit. That's sort of what it feels like, because it's not like a song.
No, and at the kind of the end of the words trail off, but like are covering another scene where she's not even singing it anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost used as a screen wipe.
Segue.
Yeah. Just like, ooh.
I've given it a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably give it I'm gonna give it a 5 because I do sometimes get it in my head still. It's still got a bit of catchiness to it.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not ever one that I've... Like, coming into this movie this time around, there are a few songs that I was like, I vaguely remember how it goes. There were some songs that were like, I watch this every weekend without fail. And there were some songs that I was like, I didn't even realise this was in this movie. And Dumb Dog was one of them. So when it happened, I was like, oh, there's a song. Oh, the song's over. And the same goes for Sandy, which is the next song that we have.
Yeah. Sandy, yeah, that is, again, it's a bit of a nothing song. But, I mean, I like the interaction between the orphans in that song.
Yeah, it's a cute character study.
Yeah, I like that. Kittens would frighten him. Like, that's something that I always think is fun. But I realised I didn't quite understand what the lyrics were. Because I thought, I'll watch it on subtitles, just so, like, if there's things I've not picked up on, this is a cool opportunity, because there's so much detail in this film that I completely had no idea about until rewatching it. And I always used to think it was Dullafin Dog, which isn't a word.
Yeah.
I always used to think that's the perfect name for this Dullafin Dog. I was like, wow, that's how I sing it.
That's
and then
the
it's
thing.
this dumb-looking dog, which makes way more sense.
I love that. I've done that all my life, where you just slightly mishear something, but you're like, seems legit. And then, like, you realise and you're like, I'm stupid.
It makes way more sense. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Sandy. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. Not bothered.
Yeah, same. I got 4 because it's just like,
Yeah. It's not essential. It's an opportunity to give the orphans a solo line each.
Yeah, pretty much. For when your kid's starring in the like high school production of it, and you go so you can hear her sing, Rofa, and you're like, that's my child. You buy the VHS just like so you can never rewatch it again. Yeah, it's a bad one. It's a bad. Then this song. So Annie gets picked out by Grace, who's come here on behalf of Daddy Warbucks to pick out an orphan. Why? Who knows? PR stunt. Seems weird.
Pretty much.
What a dick move.
I mean, he does his whole, like, attitude. He's very aggressive, very money-driven. So an opportunity to show him as being charitable in this time of the Great Depression probably makes sense, but it is still a very random, like, yeah, sure.
It's like very much publicity stunt. Like, I don't think he ever intended to hang out with her, which is why I'm so confused as to why the entire staff are like, oh my god, there is an orphan here, and this is the best thing to have ever happened to any of us. And Grace, his like secretary, who's like 21, is like over the moon and just obsessed, and is just like, this orphan is now my life. And I'm like, you have a very well paid job that keeps you very busy, and I'm not saying that that's the be all and end all of everything, but I'm baffled as to why all of you are so obsessed with this child. And that comes out in this next song, which is I Think I'm Gonna Like It Here. Now, for everything I'm gonna say about this song, it is so fucking catchy and you will never get it out of your head. Every now and then, just in life, I'll just be like somewhere, and then I'll just be like, I think I'm gonna like it here. Like, it just
don't they do it in Family Guy at some point? That just made me think of Peter Griffin singing it.
Yeah. And like, it's a beautiful dance number. All of the staff do like ballet and tap across the beautiful hallways, but I've seen better, nothing against Darlene Phillips, but I've seen musicals that do that sort of like, all the servants are doing a dance number kind of thing. I don't know, it just, I don't know what it is about Annie. It just felt like they took the Broadway musical and they decided to film it, and beyond that, no one really had any innovation or imagination behind it. Does that make sense? Like, they were just like, we're just gonna film it. Stop me if I'm wrong, but I think that's why I never found it so memorable, because I was like, they're just filming them doing some stuff.
I'm not so sure, because I've only ever seen the West End adaptation of it, and I did a youth version in my youth.
Oh, lovely.
I shall get on to. But I remember watching that and thinking how simple it was in comparison. And there are lots of songs are different. They've added things in and made more of other things and taken other songs out. And I think what they did with the film is they filled it. They put as much glitz, like as much stuff in as they possibly could, because those dance routines, there are a ridiculous amount of people. You could never have that many people in a cast, like, and each time's in a big number. Like, with Hard Knock Life, like, there's so many girls. There's only 5 that we really follow. Yeah. And then they all disappear as soon as the song's over.
So
and it's really, like, just those 5 girls again. And I think that's what they're doing with this, and they're adding in so much dancing and going, look at these, like, this gorgeous building, which I believe Daddy Warbucks is the building that is actually university or a museum or something like that. But it's they've got the sets, they've got the costumes, everything's grand. They can show off lots more of the details. There's so much detail with little comedy bits, like, that for me I think really stick out. Like, there's this just a stupid little bit where there's these 2 old men and they look to each other and they're like, we've never had a little girl, and it's a tiny little moment, but that, like, you wouldn't get that if you were watching the stage production. You wouldn't get to see the detail of those two having that moment, or Annie playing on the organ, or seeing Sandy have a bath.
That's very true.
This doesn't mean that I love this song, but I think there is a lot of detail in it.
It's very true, actually, the more you pointed that. But then I think my brain was wiping it off as, like, they're just trying to fill time. They're just trying to put stuff on screen to, like, because they can. But then also they easily couldn't have done. So I think you make a good point.
It would have cost them a lot less.
It's very true.
If they had done it just filming the Broadway version, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
They have spent money on this film, like, with just the sheer amount of people.
I think it made a lot of money at the box office, but it didn't actually make any money because it cost so much. So they were, like, just able to cover their, like, expenses, I believe. I think.
And I hear from a friend, because I didn't do my own research because I'm a terrible person. She was telling me how it was, like, slated by the critics.
Oh wow!
Because it was so overproduced, because it had so much going on with it.
And I think that's my problem with it. I love a story, and, like, it's funny because some of my favourites are Oklahoma and Calamity Jane, which I would say get to the point of the story and there's very little that I need to fast forward. But then people will argue that in the middle of Oklahoma there's a ballet dream sequence, and I'm like, but everything that's good needs a ballet dream sequence. My life needs a ballet dream sequence in the middle of it, because that's a good thing.
I've never got all the way through Oklahoma. It gets on my nerves so much.
Oh no!
I'm so sorry to tell you that.
No, it's funny though, because, like, I think it's marvellous. I think every song hits the nail on the head. I think it's brilliant. I've yet to really meet another person that shares my opinion. Most people are like, either it's fine, or, like, it's no King and I, or it's no Sound of Music, or it's no Annie. Like, yeah, there's something about Oklahoma that everyone's just sort of put it in the meh box, whereas I'm like, take it out of the meh box and put it in the best thing that's ever been made box. Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I think my problem with Annie is that I feel like there's so much to fast forward through.
Yes,
but, like, is that a bad thing?
I mean, I remember there's definitely certain bits, and definitely later on towards the end of the film, there's bits that me and my sister always fast forward through. Sometimes because they were a bit scary, rather than because we didn't enjoy it. But I actually, the thing that made me want to watch the film again is that my friend had said that her children had recently got into it and they'd been watching it every morning, and I was looking after their nearly 2-year-old one morning, and we watched it again, and she was glued to the screen.
Oh wow!
And that's, like, for smaller children to be so into it, and I kind of thought, like, watching it again as an adult, thinking, well, maybe that's because of the detail, and that's what kept me glued to it, watching it again, because there were so many things that I'd never seen before, and that little bits of comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, mostly with Miss Hannigan, but even in, like, there's a bit I'll talk about later on that just cracked me up earlier, but it is to do with the servants, and there are little things going on with Drake and Mrs. Pugh, and tiny little things that you might not notice necessarily, but they're there, so somebody thought about it.
It's so true. And in terms of, like, your attention span, you're sort of watching something and then you get to flip to watch something else, and then you flip back, and then you flip to something else, and then you flip back, whereas other musicals perhaps have, which is what perhaps I'm comparing it to and craving, maybe, I'm not sure, is those long, still shotted, sort of just dance sequence, like, we're just going to watch these people dance for a bit now. And that's not what's not happening in Annie, so maybe I was like, I don't register this, and therefore I don't like it because it's new and different.
Breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules. It's interesting, but in terms of, I think I'm gonna like it here as a song. As I keep saying, I have a massive problem with everyone suddenly being like, this is the best day of my life now that this 10-year-old is here, because they are all, like, fucking obsessed. They're all like, Annie, look, I got you some flowers. Annie, look, I bathed your dog. Annie, look, oh, we're gonna give you silk sheets. It's like, you have enough to be getting on with. Like, this, maybe they're really bored and unhappy. Maybe that's it. And this little fresh orphan off the streets is like, wow, great. But to me, I was always just like, she's not that great, guys. You all need to calm down.
Yeah, I suppose, like, I think the way that like when she first comes in, they are like kind of giving her the like what the fuck sort of eye, but until like Grace goes, right, okay, this is what's happening, da 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 da, and I love like her little boss walking along when they're going, yes, miss,
Yeah.
yes.
Taxi fixed, elevator fixed.
Yeah, and I think because Warbucks has been away, and so at the end of that song when he comes in and he's just like this and this, do this, like they've been waiting, they're ready. So it's almost, for me, it's a bit like the Be Our Guest moment in Beauty and the Beast, because they probably Warbucks has been away for a week and they've just been doing what they've got to do, and suddenly there's someone new, someone young, who might actually bring some joy into this place.
That's a good point.
Whereas, because Daddy, where he hasn't got any joy, he's stern, he's loud,
Miserable.
he's miserable, driven by money, and Grace is lovely and pleasant and somehow completely in love with him.
Yeah, weird.
But suddenly there's something that's going to mix things up, and I think that's my justification why they're so excited.
It's true. Again, I can't help but watch this as like me being at like 11 years old and watching it, and back then I was like, why are all these people acting so weird? And like, I understand the realm of a musical and that things happen that might not make sense in reality, but even then I was like, I think they're trying to base this musical so much in reality that it's conflicting with itself by being a musical. I don't know, the song itself, I've given it a 7 because you can't help but hum it, but when it's on, it's just the same thing. It's like, we're gonna do some stuff for you. We're gonna do some stuff for you. We're gonna do some stuff for I think I'm gonna like it here. It's just like, yeah, it's a nice house, hun. Like, you came from an abusive orphanage. Like, I think you're gonna like it.
Of course you're gonna like it. You don't have to clean it. Yeah, I mean, I do like the actual, as a song goes, for me it's more of a dance piece.
Yeah.
Like, showing off the garters of the maids. I noticed, I was like, oh, there is a lot of leg on show. I didn't have a problem with it. Just and so, yeah, but as an actual song, it's not got a huge amount to it, so I would give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Even though I enjoy it, but it's not.
And it's always like, oh, it's that one where she first gets to the house. Like, we all know it, we all hum it, but it's nothing special.
Yeah.
Nothing special. So then Annie's there for a bit, and is this where I feel, because I'm going to sort of interject with stuff that happens in the movie before we get to the next song. I believe Sandy makes his reason for staying just before this song starts, which is, I don't know if you found this as an adult. As a kid, I probably didn't register what was happening, and I was just like, oh, I get it, because like the camera is telling me that it's funny. But then as an adult, I was like, that's fucking hilarious. And someone tries to break in and like kill Daddy Warbucks with a hilarious 1930s bomb.
Yes.
You can see it, it's fizzing away. And the magical ethnic minority picks the bomb up and yeets it over the hedge, turns around, it blows up behind him. Hilarious. Yeah. And then you're in the office looking through the window, just in the background. I love a thing where someone's like talking on the phone or doing something serious, and in the background shit is happening. And that's exactly this scene. So that all of the staff suddenly are like martial arts experts, and they're like beating up this intruder.
These 2 bodyguards.
It's just in the background, and it's really funny.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. I didn't like watching it back. I was really surprised that the character of Punjab is played, I believe, by Trinidad. Oh, I can't say the word. An actor from Trinidad.
Trinidadian?
Trinidadian, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I couldn't get the word out. But like, it was kind of like, did they just go, oh well, this is an actor that's not white, let's stick him in a turban?
Honestly, like, I didn't even look at it's not a true movie musical if you don't have some problematic racial stereotype. And here you have, it's that era where we I think we probably still had India, and you got your magical ethnic minority who probably has like 3 lines in the entire movie and is legitimately magic, can make things levitate, and every time he does you get that music, and you're just like, stop it. Same with the Little Princess and all of those ones.
Yeah.
The white
but
man
I do
and his
I like him. All this
and
like, he's got the most amazing eyebrows and the most amazing eyes, and he's beautiful and he's cool, and he just does everything with a little bit of a smile that just makes me almost go like the actor is kind of going,
fuck you. It's true, because these characters are always the coolest characters, and it's because they don't speak, so they have an element of mystery. They are legitimately magical, which is fucking cool.
Yeah.
They bring a sort of different atmosphere to the movie whenever they're in it. They bring lavish, beautiful clothing, but they're so problematic, and they're always the like sidekick, but that like sort of sagey, wise sidekick where like in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves and stuff like that, where it's just like, my culture means that this is fine. Like, I'm allowed to be your slave because I'm cool with it. Like, it's weird. I mean, he saves the fucking day. Like, he literally saves the day.
Big time.
But it doesn't excuse the fact that he's like...
There are only two actors that aren't white in the whole film. I believe there's one, like, orphan that's not white, maybe?
Yeah.
The rest of the film, like, is just completely whitewashed, which, like...
Yeah, and, like, it's the 80s, they probably weren't thinking of ethnic diversity, and it's just unfortunate that where they did have it, it was with a horrible, tropey stereotype character who has some brilliant moments within the movie, but overall as a thing, it's just sort of like a...
Yeah.
Like, hello, the 80s. What would you like? And I wonder if you do a production of Annie nowadays, which they did back in like 2015, 16, something like that, on Broadway. I only know that because of the Tony's opening with Neil Patrick Harris, and he brings the entire cast on. And I wonder if they had the character of Punjab, and if they did, and how he was represented. And
I don't remember, like, from the West End version, I don't remember that character even being in the show, and in the adaptation that I did as a kid, that character wasn't in the show. So I feel like they've been added in for the film.
Yeah.
Add more, because obviously somebody that rich would have some badass bodyguards who could, like...
It's weird though, I never saw him as a bodyguard. I did always just see him as like a trophy almost, like a... Maybe that says more about me, but it's because that's what they... I'm comparing it to a Little Princess a lot, because that was the same. It was like the old man, and he had his, like... Again, he was a sort of carer, bodyguard helper.
Yeah.
But they were never seen doing that kind of thing. They always just sort of stood there mysteriously, being like, I have brought the magics of India with me. Would you like to see a tiger? And it's like, no, stop. Sorry, we're culturally appropriating all of you all the time, and I'm so sorry. But it's a nice bit of comic relief in there. Comic relief, well, it's funny. Would you say that Annie is funny?
I would. I'd say it has some of the best moments of comedy, like physical comedy, but that is all mostly from Carol Burnett. So, like, her comedy throughout is just a masterclass in slapstick and timing, which just is, like, that's so much. But I think there is comedy throughout in the other characters. It's just because she's so good. And also, like, Rooster and Lily St. Cryer, obviously, Tim Curry, and Bernadette Peters are also incredible as well. But I think there's little bits of... There's humour in the fact that Daddy Warbucks is the way that he is, and the way that the people are around him. I think there's there is humour within that. It's just not maybe as laugh out loud funny as some of the other things that we see later on.
That's true. That's a good point. I'm very excited to get talking about that trio of musical theatre royalty. They are the best thing about this movie. So then Daddy Warbucks is like convinced to go to the cinema.
Yeah, I think we might have missed Little Girls.
Oh, we have. Fuck. Oh my god. I apologise.
I forgive you.
Because Little Girls is one of those songs, and this specific version by Carol Burnett, that I will just put on YouTube and watch daily. It's got 11 out of 10 from me.
Oh,
it
yes.
is fucking fantastic. It is. You've said it already. It is a masterclass in absolute fucking comedy. The song itself is brilliant. It's a great tune. It's great melody. It's hilarious lyrics. She plays it so well, the way she does the little voices all the time.
Oh yes. There's the moment with the gin glasses where she's doing the clang and classic rule of three, because on the third one she gets the sound right, and then she proceeds to fill up her glass with as much gin as she possibly can, and it's just the little.
Or like my sense of humour, and she like rips the head off the doll. The way she's dressed.
Oh, the costumes for Miss Hannigan. The whole way she holds herself constantly, because she's got like from her first entrance to the film, like there's the music with it's just like you've always got the Miss Hannigan theme tune. She's coming and she turns on those lights and she's swaying and she's like, did I hear singing in here? And it's just every little hand movement, the quiver of her voice. She is trying to keep her shit together, but she's so drunk.
All the time. And she, oh god,
I love seeing her interactions with other adults as well, like when she's trying to show, well, throwing Mr. Bundles into the back of the van for a bit of rumpy pumpy. Never used rumpy pumpy, but I've used it just there. There we go.
It's appropriate because it's literally so appropriate.
And she's in front of the police officer, in front of Grace, she's suddenly trying to like seem like she's this adult that's got her shit together.
Yeah, that's like so in charge
she's
and
so fabulous, but constantly the girls can undermine her. She undermines herself.
Yeah.
I guffawed at her going from her slamming Annie back into the cupboard. She comes back with Grace slammed down onto the floor. And then she just gets back up and just like, and how would you like you just carries on with as if she had not just completely stacked it.
The slapstick that this woman provides is just magnificent. Oh god, I love her so much. She's not. What's wonderful as well is that she's a brilliant villain in that she's like a Disney villain where they get that perfect mixture of threatening and a little bit scary. But when it comes to the crunch, she completely is like not there to kill you, and because she's so easily undermined as well, it takes away her threatening nature. So it's like we can laugh at her as well, which is the best kind of villain. And Little Girls is just Carol Burnett at her absolute finest when she's pouring the vodka into the bath and she's like, I'll land in the nut house with all the ducks and the squirrels. And you're just like, fucking yes!
She's just, and I think, she absolutely what you say is that perfect balance. It's that comedy that undermines her, that makes her less scary, but she is still threatening. And it's just this human who is fed up with her lot.
Yeah.
She wants romance. She wants love.
And she deserves it.
She's just become a drunk, and she just treats these kids like shit, and they treat her like shit because she's a shitty person. But you still love her. Mm-hmm. You love her so much.
And I think a lot of that does come from Carol Burnett. My first note is Carol Burnett wins this film until 42 minutes in, which is when she clinks some bottles in Little Girls, and at the window appears our gift from God, Tim Curry. And then you're like, oh boy! Here they fucking come!
That is such a brilliant moment. You're seeing her just like off on one, because like I'm sure as a musical theatre lover yourself, you will be in the house on your own going for it.
Oh my God.
Whether it's a musical that's actually been written or one you've just made up because you're in the kitchen and you're singing about making sausages. Like, if somebody was watching you through a window doing that, like...
It's perfect, because she nuzzles back in and then immediately sees him and is like, has the perfect reaction, as we all would if we were suddenly walked in on after... And like, obviously, it goes without saying that Carol Burnett is a fine musical theatre singer, effortlessly belting, Sondheim queen, like, so of course you've got that on top of everything else. And then we meet her brother, Rooster, played by Tim Curry, and his new girlfriend, Lily St. Regis, played by Bernadette Peters. They're brilliant.
They're marvellous, and that's such a small little scene, just there, like, where we read, like, actually they're in the film so little, really.
This was always my problem with Annie. I was like, more of that, less of Daddy Warbucks and Annie having a chat about something. Fuck that. Like, bring back Tim Curry and Carol Burnett with Bernadette Peters in the background, and the comedy of when they first arrive, like, Bernadette Peters has been there 2 seconds and she's got all this shit hidden in her corset, and she's just bringing all of these beads out of her like boobs to like, meanwhile Tim Curry is like stealing all of the money, and like, and you're just like, these three people are criminals, and it's great.
It's just perfect. It's great.
It's such a joy. Like, I got so excited, I stopped what I was doing and I was like, everybody shut up, this is one of the best parts of this movie. We have to watch this song from start to finish with no interruptions. And then that scene ended and we come to the scene we talked about earlier, and I was like, okay, never mind, carry on with what we're all doing.
And so we have the whole thing with the Bolsheviks, and I kind of like just listening to what Grace was saying. It's like I don't know, is it meant to be American propaganda, or like they like, because she says like, when Annie says, why would the Bolsheviks want to kill Daddy Warbucks, and she's like something along the lines of, well, he's proof that the American dream works.
Yeah, which I was like,
not an exact quote, but it
that's what I read it as well. And she's like, she's proof that this system can work for anyone or something, because I think the idea was that Daddy Warbucks was an orphan, which is why he wanted a boy orphan instead of a girl orphan, and he built his way up. But then
the whole film was set in a time when things really weren't fucking working. So also, is that a jab at the time or not?
Yeah, because Great Gatsby is proof that the American dream doesn't work, and same era. What's a fun little fact, because of the era that it's set in, America didn't have alcohol, so we can only assume that Miss Hannigan is making her own alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Which she 100% is doing.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what that bath is full of.
Yeah, like, homemade vodka.
Brewing.
Yeah, I don't understand the sort of politics within Annie. I don't, because I know it's based on a cartoon strip, which I imagine would have a lot more politics within it if it's in a...
Yeah, it was a cartoon strip during the Cold War. Was it? Maybe.
Something
no?
like that.
Oh, I think I'm getting my history wrong.
The fact that he was called Warbucks can't be...
Oh, shit.
Like, do you know what I mean? Because I think in the original, he made money by selling weapons.
Which he is doing on the phones. Like, you hear him, like saying, oh, yeah, I've got all these these armoured such and such things, and I'm working in glass that's bomb-proof and stuff like that. So he is...
And
arms dealing.
Inviting Annie into his house, as heartwarming and life-changing as it is, he doesn't then stop selling weapons to people. So really, it's just like, oh great, Annie's got a nice house now and people that love her, and let's hope he also got the other orphans in as well, because otherwise, what a dick move.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they decide to go to the cinema, and again, it's one of those ones where it's just like, let's go to the movies, and like, it's in your head, but the song itself goes on forever and isn't great. I've given it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's almost like it's in 3 sections, because you've got the bit between Annie and Grace in the bedroom,
Which
then
is
you've
cute.
got, which is really cute, and I think that's a fine place to end it. I do like
Yes.
the give the maid the night off, turn the kitchen light off.
Yeah.
I always think that's a fun little bit. But
Yeah.
then it keeps
Then it
going.
doesn't stop,
You've got
and you're
all
like,
the
why?
ushers doing all the thing, and then you've got the whole like 42nd Street sort of
Yeah, dancing
dance
girls
number
come
going
on, and you're like,
is completely unnecessary.
and it's why, again, my problem with this movie, where I'm like, it's only 2 hours, which is a normal length for a movie, especially a movie musical. But every time I'm like my dad came in and was like, is this still on? I was like, right? It's because they do 3 parts for Let's Go to the Movies instead of ending it after the sweet little version that was appropriate. And then they watch the movie, which is a black and white movie. It seems to be a real one.
It's called Camille, apparently.
And they just watch this black and white movie for like 6 minutes. You're just watching the movie. They don't even cut back to the reactions very often. You're pretty much just watching this black and white movie for ages. I was like, were you going to get more funding if you could hit that 2-hour runtime or something? Because I thought I came here to watch Annie, not Camille. Like, why am I still watching this black and white movie? Like, honestly, it goes on forever.
Yeah, it's a long section that does not need to be that long. In the musical and stage version, they have a song called NYC.
Yes, I thought they did, because it's like, NYC just got here this morning.
Yeah,
like,
the starter B.
Weirdly, I know that song.
It's a great
not
song
in the movie.
Yeah, that's a real I imagine, because like on stage you can have cardboard cutouts of the NYC like night sky and stuff like that, and later on you do see, like, anytime they kind of do the horizon of New York City, it looks very modern. And it is jarring. So I imagine, it just, the cost of trying to make that work would have been, because it's so many people coming in with little bits and bobs, but it's such a good song, so it's a shame that it's not there.
I know it, and I think I might know it because they redid Annie. Disney redid Annie with Kathy Bates as Miss Hannigan in like the early 2000s.
Oh.
And they must have that song, because in my head I can see the song and the number, and a filmed version of it in my head, but it's not in this movie, so it must be in that Disney version.
I have to check them out.
So they decided to keep it in that one, but they cut it out of this one and just gave us 20 minutes of a black and white movie that nobody cared about. I couldn't get over it. I was like, why is this still on?
I think like, obviously, because Grace doesn't have a huge amount otherwise, so I think that is a good opportunity to give her a lovely, like, look at how lovely I can sing, and also how amazingly she dances as well, because her legs are ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, she's got legs for days. Like, that was one thing I used to love when watching this movie as a kid. I was always obsessed with Grace, because I was just like, how can a person look like that? Like, that's insane.
So beautiful.
And she is a dancer who was just picked in this movie to sing and act as well. And you can tell she's a dancer, because at any given opportunity they're like, and now Grace is going to dance.
Yeah.
And she does, and she's like kicking her leg like in an entirely round circle over her skull, like, just insane. Like, absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And so this is lovely, and like, as we say, the opening to this song is really sweet, and it nods to all of these like movie stars of the time and the sort of genres, and she's in her sort of night dress getting ready, and Nanny's like, this sounds exciting, and it's like, it is exciting, and then it carries on for another 20 minutes, and you're like, enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think that is the problem with it. It's just that it's so long, unfortunately.
Yeah, unnecessarily long.
I'm gonna give it an
Yeah.
8 out of 10 just for
Okay.
the bit at the beginning,
For the
because I do
start
really
bit.
like that, because I love the bits that she does, like the dying
Yes.
Grace and all that, and I like getting to see Annie and Grace like have a bonding moment
Yeah, it's
for like
so sweet.
character arc for that.
Yeah.
It's just the rest is not necessary. The whole bit of the cinema actually isn't necessary.
Yeah, we don't need to see them go to the movies.
Yeah.
They're going to the movies. We don't need to see them at the movies.
I think it just is just their homage to all, because they mention every single different like movie producer as well in the bit with the dancing girls, and it is just a kind of a bit of a soppy love letter, I suppose, to old movie musicals, which I suppose is what it's trying to evoke anyway. So I think
True.
that's why it's probably there.
Yeah.
But it's not
just
necessary.
so long and boring.
Yeah.
And then Daddy Warbucks and Grace have the fucking weirdest conversation under a tree where they're like, we're gonna keep Annie because reasons. And Grace has to fight to get this to happen because she's clearly miserable and alone. Is like, I need this 10-year-old girl to make me happy. And Daddy Warbucks says, "You're awfully pretty when you argue with me."
I wrote that down too.
Which I fucking hate.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
The only thing that slightly saves it is that she seems to be into it.
But
that's, I mean, you know, each to their own.
So it is and it isn't a saving grace, I would say, because it is in terms of the movie, because it's like, oh good, it's not creepy because it's not unconsensual or anything.
Yeah.
But the fact that it isn't unconsensual is also a problem for me, because as I say, I mean, she probably isn't 21, but she's very young and quite naive, for want of a better word, and he is clearly like a war baron or some shit.
Yeah.
And rich and powerful and in a position of professionality and power, and her boss, and she does everything for him. So like the idea is that if they were to enter into a relationship, is she still his like PA? And where does the line get drawn between professionalism and personal relationship? And the age difference seems so stark, and maybe it isn't, but like it does look it to me, and it stresses me out. And I just don't like it, because then she retaliates with like, oh, I could kiss you. And you have that sort of look where they're like, oh, this is incredibly awkward, but don't worry, in like an hour's time we're going to make out. And you're just like, no, like this movie doesn't need a relationship like that shoved into it. It's creepy and weird, and you don't need to tick that nuclear family box if that's what you're trying to go for either. Like, a girl can live with a war baron and his secretary just fine. You don't need to make like a mummy and a daddy and a daughter.
Yeah.
Like,
do they? I mean, that's something that actually I don't remember if there is a romantic connection in the stage version.
I'd be very surprised if it's very much the kind of thing that you would force into a movie version of something. Like
yeah.
the people in the room, the boardroom, would be like, and does anyone make out at the end? And they'd be like, well, actually, no, because it's about this orphan and her struggle to get adopted and finding out that her parents really don't make someone kiss at the end. Okay, well, we've got this guy and this girl, and how close are they in age? Not very at all. Perfect! Get it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely despise it. It's another reason I don't like this.
Yeah.
Big part that I'm just like, ugh.
I do totally understand that, and yeah, it's not like he's the most attractive man in the world either, but
yeah, and it's not even that, because obviously, like, if we were to focus on that, she's the hottest person to have ever existed.
Word, yes.
She's gorgeous. She has the body of a dancer, legs for days. She's sweet. She's kind, but she's authoritative. She's good at her job. She's literally perfect. And he's a grumpy old billionaire who orders everyone around, hates everything, and is just like, bah, 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 I'm gonna sell weapons. And she's like, oh, I can't possibly resist. And you're like, fuck off, Grace. Like, Jesus Christ. There's 100 servants that are better than him. Like,
that gardener that she keeps dancing with. They have a lovely dance. They looked good. But yeah, I suppose, yeah, it's his personality. You do struggle to understand how she could fall in love with him. But I think it does happen a lot. Like, you fall in love with people that you want to help. And or that you like, because she is so lovely, she probably sees the best in him, and she sees the good in him that other people don't see, or at least she certainly thinks she does. And whether she would ever, unless he started flirting back with her, whether she would ever pursue it, I don't think she would necessarily. Because and I think Annie earlier on, she plants the seed when she's like, when they have that moment in the swimming pool, which is a really short scene, and just in there, like, yes, we're just showing that he actually does have a swimming pool, and where she's like, oh well, like, obviously Grace likes you, you don't notice anything, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize that. So I think I almost like Annie's trying to matchmake earlier on.
Yeah.
Which then, because he doesn't think it, he's very robotic anyway. So you don't really think of him being attracted to people as it. And I think it's just that when that moment kind of like that plants that seed in his head, and then she's wearing her hair down, and oh, maybe she does like me. I'm going to try and flirt how I think people flirt.
Yeah.
I
know exactly. I know exactly what you're saying, but I really fucking hate that trope as well, where it's like, I didn't realise I had feelings until the protagonist of this movie showed me that I did. And it's like, I don't want to date you then. If you didn't realise that I existed until someone had to point it out, you can fuck off. Like, do some of your own background work if you want to date me. Like, fuck off. It took a 10-year-old to be like, Grace is hot, for you to be like, oh look, Grace is hot. Fuck off, it's been hot the whole time. The gardener knows. The
gardener really knows.
Chauffeur knows. Dick.
Yeah, I wonder how long that relationship would last.
Yeah, or whether it's just a one night of passion, and then she's like, anyway.
So that was fun.
You could double my salary.
Well, yeah, and obviously he's slowly learning. The whole kind of thing is him learning to actually love and be able to, embrace more than just money into his life, I suppose, is the kind of idea. So maybe he will change, maybe, but not much. That we obviously see it a little bit. But he's somebody who's, I think, struggled with emotions anyway. He's gone, well, my family have died, I'm going to go make lots of money and that will make me happy, and then it's not made me happy. It's
sort of
that doesn't excuse it as a trope, like,
this is it's that sort of Mr. Banks sort of melting the heart of iron thing, but it's a trope that I'm not a fan of. I'm thinking, and I break down toxic masculinity. How about we start without toxic masculinity and see where we go? But obviously,
it's very much crowbarred in, like, perhaps that's something that happens further along down the line, and you perhaps as he changes, then maybe she sees more of that in him that would be more plausible. But of course they've gone, well, this is a film, we want to fit everything in, so we're going to fit in romance as well. She totally loves him, she can't get enough.
This 21-year-old is in love with this woman. But he agrees to keep Annie because that's the plot.
He wants to, and
the script told him to. And she sings a very forgettable little number.
Yes. Which is just, again, another excuse to see her do the dancing.
Yeah, which is lovely. It's very nice dancing, as we've mentioned before. The gardener and her get on very well.
Yeah.
Legs
and it's
everywhere.
The back bends and everything. I was just
God,
wow.
Yeah, I think I gasped all day.
There is a brilliant moment within this song that I realised when I was watching it that really got me. She kind of comes up to Mrs. Pugh and Drake and kind of some of the servants that you may have seen a little bit more. She plays the harp for some reason.
Of course she does. It's perfect.
And then Mrs. Pugh's like kind of trying to do some like kind of bluesy sort of singing, and I was just sitting there going, God, this is white. And they're singing about swing and stuff, and I noticed that the servants are purposely clicking off beat because they're just showing how much they can't do that. It's like, honestly, go back and watch that.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed.
It like I had to go back to just check that they were definitely doing it, and it killed me. Like, go back and watch it. It's so funny.
That's brilliant.
That's just like a tiny little nugget of comedy I've never noticed before, and I've watched it so many times. Admittedly, when I was a child anyway, but as an adult, going back and just seeing that little thing was just
clever
it was
little
cool.
moments of direction. But the song itself is literally just her going, "We got Annie, we got Annie, we got Annie," and then it's like, "Dancey, dancey, 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 dance. We got Annie, dance, dancey, 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 dance. We got Annie," and it's like, oh, congratulations!
Everyone's so excited. But the music's quite like,
it's funky.
I was finding myself like bopping along, but it's not. Again, it's not a song. It's just
really a song.
And then we go in when she's dancing with the bodyguards, the Asp and Punjab. Of course, then it comes into the music with the we're just going to have some.
And here are the ethnic minorities.
Yes, look at their music. And oh yes, we're going to have them do karate moves. Yes, very good.
He's going to levitate something. He's going to do some kung fu. Isn't it lovely and diverse?
Yeah, it's quite a moment. But yeah, they dance like, you know. It's
nice.
Everyone does very good dancing, and that's nice. And it is the problematic things about it that are there, and it was made in the 80s.
It was set in the 30s.
Set in the 30s, so even more, you know, they can chuck in some extra problematicness just for good measure.
Just to be like, it was the 30s, we're allowed.
Yes. Oh yes, like yes. There's no only white people in period dramas. You see,
Black people didn't exist yet. They weren't invented yet.
Thanks for educating us, films and bad history written by white people.
Yeah.
The fun of being two white people talking about this shit.
Literally. We have no right to this conversation.
Not at all.
That was our 2 cents on that. You're welcome.
Stuff that we don't understand, but we try.
We try. We point things out and then do nothing about them.
Yeah, we go, these things make us feel uncomfortable. Don't know how to fix them. So after that...
So then Daddy Warbucks goes to Miss Hannigan, which is a thing that they invented for the movie, and then they sing a song which was invented for the movie. And it's an alright song. It is boosted on my list to 8 out of 10, purely, again, because we get to see Carol Burnett fail to close doors, fall off chairs. She has a wonderful journey where she's like, oh, you're a billionaire, so I'm gonna seduce you, but I'm wasted. And then by the end of the song, she's like, get the fuck out of my house, who even needs you? And it all just sort of unfolds perfectly. Very, very sort of Sondheim, where it's just like, la la la, and meanwhile, Daddy Warbucks is just like, woodenly holding a piece of paper and a pen, like, sign! Fucking sign my sign. She's like, ah, blah, blah, blah. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and then you find out he's been to the FBI and he's had her follow to get dirt on her. I love that, with some geezer called Little Caesar. He's an uncle. Just like, lock the children in the closet. They love it.
Yeah,
like, it does, yeah. I think saying Sondheim is a really good way of describing it as a song, because it is just these cutting into each other. It kind of almost feels like a patter song.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to say it's sort of pattery, where it's like they play off each other so quickly and well, and throw away bits, and it's fun, and it's short as well, which is
but it
not something
like...
you can say for most of these songs.
it packs a punch. I remember just loving the whole thing, and just like, you love to, I got your number, you love to rumba, and she's in those that little tiny underwear set that she's
that
in.
weird like silky sort of two-piece pajamas with like something draped off her all the time.
Yeah, which I when I was a teenager, I was in a production of whatchamacallit, Annie. That's what we're talking about. And I played Miss Hannigan, which was obviously, 16-year-old getting to play Miss. It was amazing, and all I wanted to do was to be like her in the silky underwear.
Yeah.
And like we did some production shots, and I'm there like with gin. I got my hair like all over the place. And I've made sure I'm like the costume mistress gave me like the silky nighties and stuff. And then they had to take some of the photos out of the foyer because it was inappropriate for a 16-year-old to be posing. I've seen the photos. Definitely. I was just living my best like swaggy drunken dreams.
God. Absolute dream role. I bet you crushed it. I'm so jealous.
God, like that was just like my teenage life made getting to do that.
Yeah.
And it just, because I just grew up on loving her so much. Like
she's outstanding. She really is. She makes this movie. She's the only reason I still watch this movie. Otherwise, it would have just been lost to the sands of time as like a kind of thing.
I really love that number because I love Daddy Warbucks as her foil.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see her working off against that and him having to keep a straight face. Because can you imagine filming that scene?
Oh my god. No way. Just be like, God, Emily. God, fucking keep a
straight face.
Oh, it's so good.
And also, like, just as it's cutting into the next song, like, she splashed him and you just see him, like, taste the water and just, like, that is
not
my
water.
Water.
And then Annie wants to meet her parents because why wouldn't she? And why has no one told her that they've died? Everyone else knows that their parents are dead. Why is Annie still clinging on to this tragic hope? So they go on the radio to try and broadcast stupidly. They're like, why would you give a reward for parents to come forward? Because if they didn't want the child in the first place and now they're going to re-pick up the child because of a money reward, do you want to give that child to those people? Which is basically what happens. And what? No, just the first port of call would have been to ring the orphanage and be like, hey, Miss Hannigan, are you sober? No, never mind. Are Annie's parents alive? No. Brilliant. Thank you. Soz, Annie. Your parents are dead.
I do feel though with like Daddy Warbucks, his answer is to throw money at the problem.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, he's one of those people. Like, I remember I did a job for somebody once and I had already something booked in on the other day. It was like, how much money do I need to throw at it for you to be able to do the thing that I want you to do?
Oh my god.
And some people are genuinely like that. They just like, well, if I throw money at things, I can get what I want.
Yeah.
I think obviously what Daddy Warbucks, he wants Annie to be his daughter, but he wants to also make her happy.
Yeah.
So, okay, right, fine. This is how I fix things. I tell people to do things, I throw money at it, and it'll be fixed, and he'll be happy. And there we go.
It's true, and it's like without thinking through the consequences of maybe if her parents do turn up, we'll have to relinquish her, and perhaps we don't want to do that, and maybe we should take 2 seconds to think about this before we just go on the radio where there's a ventriloquist dummy.
Yes.
What? It's radio.
Why a ventriloquist dummy on the radio?
Like, do the voice by all means, but because they have a fun little thing where he's tap dancing by holding some shoes on a board.
Yeah.
Which is cute because it's radio. But then the ventriloquist dummy is legitimately there being used as a ventriloquist dummy on the radio. What? Why?
Yeah. I wonder whether it's because Daddy Warbucks is in the studio and this is a man with a fuck ton of money, he's a big celebrity, we need to put on a show today.
But then what I loved, and it's something I'd never ever noticed before, is the lovely Boylan sisters, or whatever they're called. They do their sort of like at the mic, and then when they're done, they're like throwing sheets onto the floor, like chewing gum, looking super bored as they like move around to their next bit to be like da 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 da, and then they're back to like looking bored, and like it's just the little switches that I was just like, oh, that's cute, little detail that I'd never noticed before, like adults being adults, because you can the adults being adults can get hidden behind, because everyone thinks Annie is like Bambi. Bambi is actually really fucking dark. Remember when that pheasant gets shot out of the sky after having a panic attack and the entire forest burns to the ground? Like, it's really dark, but people just remember Bambi on the ice and it's so saccharine and sweet. I think people think the same about Annie, forgetting my favourite bit, which we'll ramp up to at the end, which might have been the bits that you used to fast forward, but they were the bits as a child I lived for. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
So there's a really lovely rendition of You're Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile at the radio station with the adults. And then, of course, we have the obligatory. And again, I think I'm being biased by having the consistent sort of, oh, it's Annie, oh, it's so saccharine, oh, it's kids singing. And there is a charm to it, but I'm so cynical about it that I can't see it. So when it cuts to the kids being like, copying the people on the radio and having that, again, that sort of shout singing of like, you're never fully dressed. I'm like, oh, I hate it.
Oh,
but
no, I love
bad.
it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. I think it's adorable. I love the using the foot as a microphone. I think that's hilarious. I also love Molly. Now, she's not great, but she looked like my sister did when she was that age. Aww. And so in mine and my sister's head, my sister was always Molly. Nice. So that's kind of part of what I just go, oh, she's so cute. Yeah. Not that my sister was necessarily cute. We fought like cats and dogs, but she looked cute, you know. But like, and I think that's part of, I love Molly so much, and I just think every time she's pretending to be Miss Hannigan or pretending to be a grown-up, because like we do have those moments where you flash back to them in their beds kind of singing Maybe and just really sad.
Yeah, it's really tragic.
So any opportunity they get to have fun, I really love, and the contrast of having the actual grown-ups doing the thing in the radio broadcasting room.
Yeah.
Studio, that's the word. Words are fun. And like going from that like kind of perfect, and also before we go too far, I love Daddy Warbucks getting completely confused about how to be on the radio and like
Warbucks interrupts.
Yeah. Drop page. Did I just do a commercial? Like I love all that shit. It's so stupid. But I think it's really fun. I think I really loved that bit as a child because I think that's the bit that me and my sister would dance around pretending to do as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
So and the girl with the pigtails. Oh, you never. It's like for me, I suppose I love it because it just reminded me of something that I danced around to as a child and just thought it's
very truthful in that sort of emulation of celebrities or pop stars even, and it is very charming. I've been filtered so much with Annie that I'm just like, this is part of the problem. When it's not, it's part of the charm and joy of what makes Annie Annie. But as I say, I'm purely on the side of villainy in this movie, so I'm like, get to Tim Curry being a dick. But I've given it a 7 because it gets boosted up by Miss Hannigan coming in at the end.
Do I hear happiness? Oh, singing and all various, whether it's singing or
happiness.
And that's the Molly stamps on her foot, and instead of reacting, she just like, they never miss.
Yeah.
And which I also like for like the overall comedy of the play, like musical, film. You just see her kind of like, even she stops reacting to them stomping on her foot. She is going further and further down throughout, and it just you get used to the reaction, so it's nice to see her do a different reaction, and I just love that. I feel like it's crafted.
And it's almost like look to camera of like,
Yeah.
they never miss. Which is brilliant.
I would give it I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's I also think it's a great song.
It's one of those really, really memorable ones. Everybody knows You Never Fully Dressed Without a Smile.
I think I really like it.
Nice bits to it. You can either do the or you can do the main bit, and then it goes into that lovely bit where it's like, who cares what you're wearing? Like, it is lovely, and you can sing it as an adult and make it sound pretty, or you can sing it as like a, who cares what you're wearing? I'm so mean to these kids. They obviously can sing. It's just that trope of Annie, of like...
I think they're actually very good, but I think we've also all seen like youth productions, like, because they get put on all the time.
Because it's easy to.
Yeah, Oliver and
very
Annie,
cheap.
there's loads of kids.
Yeah.
There's loads of kids.
Everyone can have a part and a line.
Yeah, so great for youth theatres, great for schools.
Yeah.
They work. So you remember seeing lots of bad amateur singing and stuff like, which I'm sure I gave a good rendition of bad amateur singing as a 16-year-old. Yeah.
And all of the little, you imagine that sort of Shirley Temple wannabe playing Annie with the like pushy mum and that sort of trope of the like, this is my moment. I'm gonna sing tomorrow now. It's like memory. It's memory for kids, isn't it? Tomorrow. Overdone, but still lovely if you rip everything away from it.
Yeah.
We do move on to tomorrow, and it's as we mentioned earlier, it's sung with the president, because why not? And it is a cappella, and they do harmonise, and it's gorgeous, and it's that classic and it's people that are aware that they're singing. It's not like musical singing, because they're like, let's now sing a song.
Yeah. Come on, Oliver.
Yeah. Harmonise.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that was one of the moments that as a child I definitely glossed over, but actually as an adult went, oh, this is actually a really nice moment. This actually gives you a bit more of actually getting to see Annie, the character, and that she cares. I mean, you do actually see throughout the film, like, she cares for people deeply. She's there for her friends. She saves this dumb dog from a bunch of boys that were antagonizing it by punching them in the face. Which
is great.
Which is great. But you see so much about her character that she really does. She cares, and she's clever, and she absolutely sees, like, yeah, I can talk to the president on his level, and I sing this song, and there's a lovely, like, well, very charming, but it's also, she's very brave.
There's sort of an honesty to it, and but it's also quite down to earth.
Yeah, it's never full of herself, because she's very clever the way she twists Warbucks around her finger as well, because she, like, when he's like, oh, I don't want you, she's like, that's fine, you know, I've probably had enough fun to last me a lifetime, and this and that, and you're doing really good, sort of thing, and enough to be like, oh, fine, you can stay.
It's funny, because I think as a kid I took that at the level that it was given to me, so I was just like, oh, what like, she's just so happy and sweet, isn't she? And then I grew up and I was like, oh no, she's like doing a thing. She's like, she's being manipulative.
Like, she's very good at doing it and getting her own way. But I mean, that makes sense, because how else are you going to grow up in the way that she's grown up? Like, she spent 10 years in that abusive orphanage that she's constantly trying to run away from, and having to, you know, help pull apart people who are squabbling and stuff, because Miss Hannigan's no sort of form of actual disciplinarian
authority.
Yeah, like, she's not actually going to deal with squabbles and things going on, and Annie's one of the people that does that, and is there to look after Molly when she's upset and stuff. So I kind of remembered not like liking the character so much and just going, ugh, like, but actually she's got a lot to her. She's got a lot of, she's very feisty, and she's
a well-rounded female character, which
incredibly.
odd for a child character and odd for a musical lead. Because you think of Grace. Grace is very much the sort of classic musical lead where it's just like she's perfect, end of character. Whereas Annie has more ups and downs and more sort of roundness. She's still perfect, but like she's allowed to be perfect in ways that aren't necessarily traditionally feminine or like sweet sort of thing.
She's scrappy, and she has to put a brave face on it a lot, because you very rarely get to see her when she's weak and sad, but when you do see those moments, it's really lovely, and it reminds you that this is a story about a child who
is alone in the world.
Parents, and she's only 10, like.
Yeah, she's fucking 10, man. She's like OG Tracy Beaker, isn't she?
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But Tomorrow's Nice. I never know how to mark it, because you can't deny that it's now in your head. Like, just listening to this podcast, you've now got Tomorrow stuck in your head, and you know how it goes, and you know where it's from, so it's iconic, really.
Yeah. I think it is. Like, you only have to say tomorrow and somebody will probably go, tomorrow!
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, you just like, it's so part of popular culture.
It is, isn't it? It's
and that's
Shrek.
Yeah.
That doesn't define it as a shining moment of popular culture.
It's in Shrek.
It's in Shrek.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I had it down as 5. I might boost it up to 7.
I was just thinking I'm feeling like a 7 for this one.
7.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's a simple song.
Very simple.
But
memorable.
So memorable. I'm gonna go with 7. Maybe one day in my life I might change.
Yeah. There's room to change.
Yeah, always.
Then the greatest moment of any movie that has ever happened in existence happens, and Tim Curry and Bernadette Peters turns up at the orphanage in disguise as Annie's parents, and they fool Miss Hannigan. She tells them that her parents have died, and they left a locket, half a locket that Annie still wears around her neck, so they just need to find the locket, and once they do, they will go and pretend to be Annie's parents, collect the reward. Job's done. They'll split it 3 ways, and they find the locket, and we get to watch Bernadette Peters, Tim Curry, and Carol Burnett sing and dance to Easy Street. And it has a 15 out of 10 on my ranking.
Yes.
Because it is iconic. It is perfect. You cannot do this song wrong. It is impossible to. And this is the crowning version. Because in the Disney version, you get to see Kristen Chenoweth, Alan Cummings, and Kathy Bates do it. And it's still great.
Fab.
But this version, with the choreography, the comedy choreography.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
The timing, the slapstick, the use of character throughout the song, the villainy of it all, whilst also being incredibly funny and cute, for want of a better word. I know this dance inside out. I know every little thing that they do. I know the beautiful dancing between Tim Curry and Bernadette Peters, and then how it's tried to be repeated with Carol Burnett, and she gets to do the like slapstick version of it. But it's the big build up. It's the big band number. It's the best song in this musical. It's one of the greatest musical theatre songs ever written. It's catchy. It's fucking fantastic.
It is absolutely incredible. The comedy, like, is just like, because they're just every time they're just setting her up for a gag. There's so much joy in it as well, and the way it starts with a like it's pretty sexy.
It is.
There's something about it. Like, obviously, Tim Curry is just pure sex, and so's Bernadette Peters, and like when he puts the locket on her nose and stuff.
Oh my god!
Like, there's a lot of it that is really, really so sexy. In a kind of like, as a young child, going, don't know how I feel about this.
Right?
Yeah, but like it's it just oozes so much charm, so much charisma, fun, joy. It's the baddies getting their way, and they're just gonna go off and have just the best. Like, apparently, this scene was filmed after everything else because they had originally done a different sort of version of this, where they'd kind of gone off into kind of, I think, a bit like dream sequency. This is, again, this is not my actual research, it's what my friend told me. I have people, you know, people to do this.
People.
And so I really want to search and see if that version is available anywhere. It might be on YouTube somewhere, who knows. So that's actually like something that came in later, but it's such perfection.
It honestly is.
It's, I love it so much.
Like, if you've never seen Annie, don't watch it, don't bother, just go to YouTube and type in the 1982 version of Easy Street, and you will never need to watch anything else in your life, because it's just the way it builds up to the end, the way it like breaks itself down, the gymnastics. Bernadette Peters falls down the stairs like twice and no one cares, they just carry on. Like, I love it when Miss Hannigan's leg goes into the wall. Yes! She's just such a great like little thing. Like, and they're like off having their amazing time, and she's just trying to keep up and be part of the gang. Yeah. And failing so hard. But then it's inclusive as well, and oh my god, it's just so good. And I just wish that's a song that they can do 3 times over, and I will be happy. Just give me more of that. More
of that, less of go to the movie.
Yeah.
There is, I think, just before, like that actually, like when she goes out. When is the moment that when she comes out of her room? She's staggering out of the bathroom. She walks past the picture. She steps back, and she makes it wonky. Yeah, and continues on. I think
I wrote that down. It's
my favourite moment of the film. She plays it so well. It's just such a stupid moment, but it's so good. Like, she's so happy with her. Just ridiculous chaos, or she's so drunk that she thinks that is straight. Who knows? Like, whatever the reasoning for it, it's perfect. And I do also. And how does she not recognise Tim Curry when all he's wearing is glasses and a slightly bigger moustache?
Literally.
It's her brother.
They grew up together, for fuck's sake.
Yes, I almost want to watch Easy Street again right now. That was the best thing. I still remember, as a teenager, getting to do all the choreographing. Good. I'm so good that I'm speaking words on the podcast so well. It was really, that's really helped me in my life. But just like, that was the best thing to be able to learn. And I even did it later on at university with friends, like, you know, one of those night at the musicals. I was please, can we do Easy Street? Yeah. Any opportunity to do that song is
I'm very jealous. It's one of our ones that we always put on a Saturday night to just like rave out to. Like, it's just so
that
good.
Sounds like a good Saturday night.
Oh yeah, you go through all the musical theatre classics, and Easy Street's up there as an absolute tune.
Damn
Slaps
right.
so hard. I love it so much. It like, cause it's also the introduction to the best part of the movie, because up until now we've been singing with the president and going to the movies and you're never fully dressed without a smile. This is where Annie gets really good, because you get to see Tim Curry and Bernadette Peters turn up at the house, and like, you do Easy Street, boom, done, amazing, fireworks, love it. They turn up at the house and they're like, we're her real parents, look, we have the locket. And everyone is super suspect, and they're like, we don't believe them, but they're literally showing us like a birth certificate and they've got the locket. And even Annie's like, what? It's like, what did you expect?
Like, she just accepted that her parents probably weren't coming, and she'd gone, you know what, actually, like, this person who's been looking after me, and I've been having a really good time, and actually yeah, I do want him to be my dad.
Yeah.
And kind of,
And
and
then,
for somebody like that and going, yeah, I'm going to let somebody into my heart.
uh-huh.
And then
Nope.
completely, no,
And
that,
then overplaying it so much with the sort of like, we're ever so poor and humble. Look, honey, she still has the locket. And you're just like, you're so evil!
yeah, it's, you can tell so well that they're con artists, can't you?
Mhm.
They have learnt their script, they know how they're going to play it,
Yeah.
and they play it, and it's, yeah, you're just like, oh.
It's so horrible, because then he writes out the check, and Tim Curry very rightly says, oh, well, we're just happy to have our little girl back. We couldn't possibly take your money. And then Bernadette Peters snatches the check just ever so lightly and is like, but of course, we're so poor that it would help us so much. And you're just like, I love you so much. And they like bundle her in the car, and Miss Hannigan's there, and they're ripping their like masks and moustaches and their wigs off, and they're just like, oh, we even missed the best bit. All the orphans are like, we gotta go help Annie. Oh no, we gotta go. And they just like, Tim Curry leaps off the staircase down and starts pushing these orphans back in. Bernadette Peters grabs a couple of them by their wrists. They're like grabbing them in and shoving them in the cupboard.
By the ponytail.
Yeah.
Chucking them in.
Shut up, kids! Get in the fucking cupboard! You're like, yeah! The kids are like, oh no, we gotta help Annie!
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
And they're like driving down the road, and the kids are like, oh god, we've escaped, because of course we have, what are we gonna do? And they're like, oh, we're fucking rich, yeah, we're rich. And then the dog leaps off and shows the kids to the place, and they're like, Daddy Warbucks has already sung Maybe Reprise, it's got a 6 out of 10, it's fine, he's learning some valuable life lessons, but who cares? Because Bernadette Peters driving the car like a maniac, and they're like, we're rich. The kids get to the house, and they're like, quick, they were bad people. Molly keeps fainting at Punjab, which is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Is that racist? I don't know. Let's not dwell on it.
No. Yeah.
I noted it down like, let's move on. And then Annie's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Never let your kidnappee go to the bathroom. Like, let them piss themselves. Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to get piss on you. The absolute worst thing that's going to happen if you let them go to the loo is that they'll fucking run away. Because they always run away. She tears up the check like a bitch. And she throws it on the floor. And she's like, fuck you. Fuck you, Tim Curry. And Tim Curry's ain't having any of that shit. He's like,
this is where, like, evil in his eyes, and you're like, fuck, he is not funny anymore. He is terrifying.
He's gonna, and Carol Burnett is like, oh my god, he's really gonna kill her. It's my favourite part of Annie. Whenever anyone talks about Annie, I talk about this bit. I'm like, but the bit though, when Tim Curry is following her, they're on the bridge is like up, and they're like climbing up the bridge. It doesn't have like proper steps or anything. They're just using their arm strength climbing up this bridge. And Tim Curry's like, come back, I'm gonna kill you! And Miss Hannigan's running after him like, Rooster, no, she's just a baby! Like, this is the woman that has like shut this girl in the cupboard this whole time. She's drunk, she doesn't care about anything, and suddenly she's being called up, and she rises to the occasion. She's like, don't! Rooster, no, you can't kill her! And he's like, I'm gonna fuck her. And you're like, she's gonna die. Like, he's gonna kill her. Yeah. And then, like, she's right. And if you've ever played hide and seek, if you've ever, like, run away from someone, even in jest, suddenly your limbs stop working, and, like, you just get a chill all the way through you. And you can sense this is happening with Annie. She's climbing up this bridge, but you know that she's, like, paralyzed from fear.
There is a moment where he almost, like, just about grabs her so close, and you get, like, watching it, you're so tense because there's so much going on. You've got a helicopter going, you've got people screaming, like, you see Miss Hannigan, like, get hit in the head, like...
Literally, she's like, Rooster, no! She's, like, dragging him off the bridge. He ain't got time for that shit. He gotta kill this 10-year-old orphan. He punches her across the face. She goes down. You think she's dead. You think he's just punched his own sister to death. He's back up on that bridge coming for you, Annie. She's like terrified. They get to the top. The helicopter is whirring. Grace and Warbucks are there. They get out the car. They're like, oh God, we can't watch. She's like over the edge, hanging on with her arms, something that if I ever had to do, I would fall to my death instantly because I have no upper body strength. But they can do it in the movies, and she's clinging on. She is crying. She is petrified.
And it's really fucking scary.
And it's close. He's like prying her fingers off the bridge, and she falls at one point and manages to grab on again, and then he goes for her again. He's gonna kill her.
Yeah. I think,
it's so dark.
I think we just like forget that, like, obviously we're like, oh, he's a criminal, ha ha ha, but like, he's a criminal. He's been to prison. Like,
that was so much money, and she just tore it up in front of him. Like, I believe it. I believe that he would immediately go and kill this 10-year-old girl, because also he's like, no one cares about her. Like,
yeah, she's an orphan.
He probably isn't thinking logically. I love it. It's my favourite bit of Annie, because it's when Miss Hannigan is like, oh my god, like, she's just a child. Like, please stop. You're like, oh my god, this is brilliant. Like I love how dark it gets.
Miss Hannigan have that moment, like, it is that it kind of goes through me, that moment when she says she's a baby. Like, watching it, you kind of, that moment of feeling in your chest and kind of going, oh, okay, like, she actually isn't as shit as we think she is. She's not as bad a person. Like, she doesn't treat them well, but she doesn't want them to die.
Yeah,
she's
literally.
not pure evil.
She cares about them, is what you learn in that moment. Suddenly she calls her her baby. Like, she's a baby.
Yeah.
And she is. She's fucking 10.
Yeah.
Like, oh god. So magical ethnic minority man undoes his like cool turban thing, and then like it manages to carry his own body weight on a helicopter, and he lifts her off the bridge. Tim Curry is frightened. I was hoping, because Tim Curry then like starts falling off the bridge, and I was hoping he would like crumple at the bottom and die, because like that's what we do to our villains, even in musical theatre. We kill them. If Judd in Oklahoma can die by being knifed, then Rooster can die in Annie, but he doesn't. He falls into a police trampoline, and I'm sure he's going to prison for the rest of his life. Blah blah blah.
And Jeffrey Holder, our magical ethnic minority human, he does get to kick him in the face.
Yes,
which is great. And you do just kind of go, oh my god, like, Punjab is badass. Saves the frickin' day. Asp is there driving the autocopter.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's used his Sikh turban. He says some stuff that Buddha says, like, and he saves her and kicks him in the face, and you're just like, wow, you are an action hero, and just like,
it's brilliant. It is so good. It makes sense as well. Like, if Danny Warbucks was up there trying to save her, I'd be like, I don't buy it.
Oh no, like, yeah, you absolutely get your bodyguards who know how to do badass shit to sort this out, and getting to see Miss Hannigan hit Rooster in the head with a handbag kind of gives us an opportunity to kind of forgive her.
Yeah, she immediately 180s almost. She stops being the villain at that point. She does, after everything that's just happened. Like, they let Tim Curry be like, you goddamn kid, because they wanted to get that PG rating, because they wanted older kids to go and see this, which is hilarious. And he's like, I'm going to fucking murder you, and he attempts it. She then hits him with a handbag like the old woman in Madagascar, and then she calls him she's like, Rooster, you reprobate. He's a murdering psychopath. I think there are plenty of things we can call Rooster right now, and reprobate is not one of them. Yeah. Like, up your language, Miss Hannigan. It's okay. He just tried to throw that child off a bridge.
But I do like alliterations, Rooster and reprobate. That's fair. Fun to say together. That's.
And like, I look like Bernadette Peters is in the background being like held by the police, but she's doing it. She's holding her body in such a way that it's like she's like a cat that's been caught in a net. Like, she's just skittish and petrified, and like that's scary to watch as well, because you think she's villainous. Like, she's on Rooster's side, and she was gonna try and like skittle away, but she's been caught, and like it just, both of them are very frightening at this moment, and it really does bring this movie up in my estimation, because it was my favourite bit as a kid, and it's my favourite bit now. I think it's a good climax.
It is. It does. It brings
Stakes.
yeah, absolutely. The stakes are up, and I think the reason we did fast forward it through it was because it was scary.
It was really
When we were
scary.
younger, like, it is really scary.
Yeah.
Definitely watching it, like, it's really great. I mean, one of the things I did really enjoy about it as well was when they're like looking down from the helicopter. There's this really, really bad model of the street. Like, so there's these like really bad, like, I mean, it's not that they're terrible, but they're just not very detailed models, like very clearly little cardboard model houses with these little tiny cars going along, occasionally cut in with what was obviously the modern New York skyline as well, which looks so different compared to this model that, like, where there's hardly any lights in the houses and then there's loads of lights everywhere else, and it was just like kind of watching that, like, I would never have noticed that as a child, but just seeing how that's cut together,
Jarring.
it's just like, oh, this is
Oh dear.
that like they could have put a bit more detail in it to
Yeah,
make it
someone-
slightly more believable.
Someone gave up that day. Someone
Yeah.
was like, it's home time.
It's fine, but there is. I think obviously they've cut it with so many different things. You've constantly got the kids running around. You've got the well, not the kids anymore, but the sirens and everything. There's got that whole chase element. Everything's happening at once. So I think it's fine. You don't see it for long enough.
Cut that corner.
I was just probably watching it with a slightly more closer eye than I may have done in the past.
Simple adult eye.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same. I'm always like, continuity!
Yeah.
It was terrible. But yeah, like, one thing I always say about this movie, and we have mentioned it a lot, is that it does drag for me a lot of the time. There are such high moments, and they are so good when they're good, and they're so boring when they're not.
Yeah.
And the finale for me is Tim Curry landing on the police trampoline. I'm good at that point. I'm like, the end. But no, we have to watch Annie in a pretty dress do some tap dancing with Daddy Warbucks, and it brings together all of the everything. Daddy Warbucks and Grace get together, and all the orphans are there with their candy floss, and everyone's having a good time, and isn't this lovely? And it's a reprise of every song we've ever heard, but I'm just like,
And
I'm out.
Miss Hannigan rides an elephant.
Miss Hannigan rides an elephant, and it's implied that she's going to try and hook up with Punjab, which I'm here for.
I'm totally there for that, because
Yeah, she
I think
deserves.
he'll just like sort her out and
Yeah.
teach her how to be a good human being.
Because in theory, she's good now. We
Yeah,
can hope
and-
that from this day on, she's no longer a sad alcoholic.
Well, you wouldn't need to be if you have a magical man who can constantly quote Buddha, and
Exactly.
the calming, lovely influence would probably be a gorgeous person to spend the
What
rest of your
I hope has happened is that Daddy Warbucks has opened like one of the several wings of his house as like the new orphanage, and they can all just move into this house because it's big enough, right?
Oh,
There'll
it's
be
humongous.
Places that he'll never even realise exist. So you can have. There's only 6 orphans. Like the others were extras called in for Hard Knock Life. Like, you're fine.
Yeah, and they just need a home, and she'll need her friends.
Yeah.
So they pull out all the stops of like, what stuff can we throw into this last number?
The
Like,
president's
there are
back.
of course, there's fire breathers, there's jugglers,
Yeah.
there's stilts, there's like everything that you can
Mhm.
possibly imagine. Everyone's come in to have their little moment of being like, oh, we come back to sing a line.
We're alive.
We're alive, woo!
I believe the musical ends at Christmas, but they couldn't afford enough fake snow to cover the set, so they changed it to the 4th of July.
Ah. There is that moment when the president's like, that 4th of July, kid!
Yeah.
Uh,
Happy
Yeah, 'cause-
American celebration.
Yeah, of course. Because Getting a New Deal for Christmas is the finale number in the stage version.
Ah.
That does make sense instead of this kind of, I suppose, kind of like a medley, isn't it? Really, at the end.
Yeah, it is like all of the previous numbers smushed together, which I'm usually a big fan of, but as I say, by this point, I'm just like, all of my faves are out of the picture.
Yeah, they don't smush
So
together. It's not like there's no Easy Street. There's
yeah,
no
no
Little
Easy
Girls.
Street and Little Girls mash up. None of that. You don't get to
Oh,
cut to Tim Curry in prison being like,
oh my God, that would be
like
amazing.
during
Like,
the credits.
sad, like, "He's very sweet."
Trying to like saw through the bars with a homemade weapon kind of thing. Making
Somebody got a
friends with
harmonica as
people.
well.
And Bernadette Peters in the woman prison. Yeah.
Let's say something really dark. See him on the chair singing it.
God.
Oh no! Stop it! I tell you, you know the fireworks at the end.
Mhm.
I, as a child, always thought that Annie's name in the fireworks was real. I thought that
Fair.
was actually done with fireworks until watching it
You
again
were a
today and going,
child.
oh yeah, that's definitely really bad CGI. Oh.
Yeah, it is 80s CGI. If they did it today, you could probably argue. I could probably be like, yes, they do look very realistic, but they did
Yeah.
not.
But definitely bad. But I was a child. It was the 90s.
Yeah, man, that's fair.
Sure, it looked good then.
And it
Things
probably
have
did.
Yeah.
I hated it because I was like, fuck off, Annie.
I've
Like,
seen
I'm
enough,
over it.
Annie.
Why is everyone
say-
so obsessed?
Definitely, like, the overall, like, kind of thinking about the film, if you think about, like, the scenes and stuff, they are all so full of, like, especially extras and stuff. There's so much to watch with extras in this film.
Yeah.
Any of the street scenes earlier, like at the very beginning when she's run away and stuff, there's all these different people, and every time there's crossing a street, and there's so much going on. And that final scene just does, like, go, well, this is how we've been doing it the whole film, so here's all the things.
It's all the things and all the people and all the stuff. I think another one of my main problems with Annie, and this is going to sound so weird, it's dirty. It's like grounded very much in a reality, and everyone's got mud on their face. And it's the same thing with Oliver as well. A reason I think I went more towards sort of Oklahoma than Oliver and Annie is because I liked something that was clearly a soundstage with bright lighting, and everyone was very clean and like shiny. And Annie is like a lot more realistic and grounded in this real worldness. And I was like, no, clean them all up, bring them back in, turn the lights up more. I
think that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I could see why people would prefer that, because it's like, if I'm going to watch something, I want it realistic-y.
I like the contrast of being able to see her world, which is, I mean, that's another song that's not in this film, that's in the stage version, is she ends up like going to I can't remember what they're called, but are they called Hoovervilles, or where all the people who'd lost their homes and stuff to the Great Depression, that they're living on streets and everything, and there's a whole song about Herbert Hoover.
Oh, cool.
We'd like to thank you, Herbert Hoover, and it's just being like, there's you dirty rat, you bureaucrat, you, like, it's a real like, fuck you, like, we used to have good jobs, we had good lives, and now we have nothing and we're living on the streets. And she goes and joins those people, like, for a little bit while she's like hiding away.
Oh, cool.
Before she gets caught by the police.
Yeah.
And so I suppose they're trying to show something of that, and that's her world that she's in, these people who are desperate and
but
they're
interesting
struggling.
that they chose to cut that out and instead have a beautiful scene where she talks to Hoover and is like,
yeah,
it's gonna be okay, Mr. President, and he's like, I'm a good guy.
I'm a good, but they do have that in the stage version as well, and it's, you do kind of, you like here Roosevelt and like kind of go, oh yeah he is good, but like I think that definitely the stage version is a bit more political maybe, but I still I feel like the film is like they're showing the difference between those people who are desperate and just like like who are stuck. That it's when Grace threatens Miss Hannigan, like it's a terrible time to be out of work, and it really is. Like there is no other job that she could probably go get at this time. So then kind of having the contrast of this man with all the money and all the wealth and everything. It's I like that visually in a film. I think that's
it's very sort of
enjoyable.
My Fair Lady.
Yeah, I do. And I'm a big
Rags.
fan of My Fair Lady as well. And I suppose it happens in Oliver too, because
that's true.
he then suddenly wakes up in this lovely place, and we've got all. So I suppose it's a fun thing to have visually. We want to see different walks of life, the dirty side and the pretty side.
Yeah, it's true. I was just like, no, everything is on one level. But no, it's funny. I will watch it again, and I will. It's a real thinker, Annie. Because I can't decide whether I hate it or love it. I really can't. I'm always stuck.
I think I'm having watched it again, and the nostalgia that it brings to me, because it was such a big part of my growing up.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to show it to my already loving musicals niece of just 3 years old.
Amazing.
Who I cannot wait to show it to her.
Yeah. And
I'm looking forward to watching it with my sister again as well. Because we used to dance around so many musicals and stuff, and it's really nice that that's what this brings back to me.
Definitely.
As well as a comedy masterclass.
Yes. Fucking Carol Burnett deserved an Oscar for this movie. But yeah, thank you for giving me an excuse to watch it, because I do love a movie musical, and this is one of the sort of crowning movie musicals. Like, it is so well known and everybody knows the songs, and I just have a complicated relationship with it.
I think that's fair. I understand it and I sympathise.
Hey.
I am a big fan of movie musicals, and it just absolutely just brings me joy. Yeah. And I think especially in times like this right now, things that can bring us joy are pretty important.
Yeah, and it is fun, and I will now be singing Easy Street all evening. And so who are you? What are you doing? What are you doing in the future? Where can we find you?
So my name's Grace Kelly Miller. I'm an actress and I work in London. I often work with a company called Open Bar, who do Shakespeare round pub gardens over the summer. We've not been told whether it's been cancelled yet, but who knows with the way things are going. Yeah. But if it's always worth checking out Open Bar. They put on really good work. I also have my own solo show, which I was meant to do at Brighton Fringe. With my drag king character, Lukewarm.
Nice.
And he is a very pompous, struggling actor, and he loves a bit of musical theatre himself. So that's why I thought this would be a really good thing to do to help advertise for Brighton Fringe, which probably will happen again. I believe they're hopefully going to change the dates to September, October 2020. Nice. So who knows if that will continue.
Yeah, but fingers crossed, because I'm really excited to see it.
I'm sure I shall bring his show somewhere again. It's called Lukewarm Behind the Bulge. It's camp, and there are musical theatre songs in it, and it's fun.
When did you start doing drag?
I've been doing drag I've been doing burlesque since 2013.
Nice.
And I then created a burlesque act that I was like, oh, well, this character's a dude. So I started performing as him, and so he then got a name and then actually got a voice. And so I suppose he's kind of been in existence for, what year are we now? 2020. Must have been like 4 or 5 years, I reckon, by now. Cool. So, and he's like been progressing and growing, and he's a whole character of his own, kind of. Brilliant. Takes over a bit.
Yeah, it's so cool, because I don't really see much drag king. I mean, I'm not in with that scene anyway, but obviously, like, drag queens get so much visibility and so much attention these days, thanks to RuPaul. It's really nice to find segues into the drag kingdom, as it were.
Yeah, I think the drag king scene is really interesting and exciting because there aren't so many like you say with RuPaul, lots of people have watched it and they go, oh, so this is what drag is. Whether you're involved in the scene or not, like Joe Blogs feels like they have a right to comment on somebody's look or what they're doing. Whereas because drag kings haven't got these set rules in the same way, there's a lot more experimentation, there's a lot of more gender fuckery, and I think overall that's what drag should be. It's a way of using gender to help express different ideas or ways of just completely destroying gender and breaking it apart, and that's what's really fun. It's a great art form because you can use so many different skills within it and have a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Well, good luck with everything. I really hope that it does get moved to a date in the distant future after all this.
Thank you. I hope so.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been really, really, really fun. You've been a brilliant guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.
No, absolutely. It's been really, really fun.
And if you've enjoyed listening to Grace here, you can catch her on her very own podcast, No Small Roles, from Sunday the 2nd of August.
This is No Small Roles, a D&D podcast where the story goes wherever the players lead it, and the difference between saving the world and dying horribly is down to the roll of the dice.
So could I, talk chicken lizard to it and see if it replies without any warning?
You can certainly try. What do you say to it?
We're friends. We want to know what's going on. Can we approach you? But it comes out as...
Join us for our first 2 episodes on Sunday the 2nd of August, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy Why This Film, why not head to iTunes and leave us a review? And you can now support Why This Film on Patreon from as little as £1 a month. Just head to patreon.com/Why This Film Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at Why This Film Podcast, on Instagram at Why This Film Podcast, and on Twitter at Why This Film Pod. If you'd like to come on the show and talk about your favourite childhood movie, email into us at whythisfilmpodcast@gmail.com.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits 2 challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.
What's up, guys and gals, and everyone in between? This is Tess from Ongoing Comic Book Discussion Podcast, the place where a fun gal like me dives into the world of comic books one adventure at a time. Join me every Wednesday as I review a new comic book topic with a fun guest. I don't know if you know this, but comic books rule, dude.